everyone, and welcome to the Zelda Cast here on ZeldaDungeon.net. My name is Andy Spiteri, summoned at this early hour by my friend and yours, Allison Aletha.
I mean,
What's up, Al?
I got stuff to do, man. We're just doing it like an hour and a half early. Andy's not an early guy, but
It's true.
I this is a I like I told you, I like this is the busiest month of the year for me for some reason. I don't know how I planned it this way, but like I'm getting ready to paint my house. I have a bunch of family stuff going on. It's just too much. So anyways, that's why we're recording a little early today. It's totally my fault, but we're here and we're gonna talk about some
We say
Zelda.
early here, okay? We're recording at 10:30 a.m. local Spiteri time. And there's some people like absolutely rolling their eyes at like that's early.
Well, that's me. I do that, but like,
Yes.
but I've done this with you for so long that I know. And like my brother, he's like nocturnal, so I understand that people just operate at different times. You know?
Yes. I'm like a night owl. Like I cannot fall asleep until like after 12. Just I don't know why. I feel like I
hmm
can't. Like I'm wasting my day or something like that. So, but that being said, I love to sleep in. I'm just like, oh,
That's
this is
so
so
funny because
great,
I'm the opposite, where I feel like I'm wasting my day if I'm not up earlier.
right? Isn't it?
It's
It's kind of weird how that
it's how
works.
everybody operates. It makes sense. It's totally fine.
Yeah. Well, okay. We got a lot to get into here today, Al. It seems like it's been a long time since
hmm
Age of Calamity came out. But it's only been a short, like what, like couple, like 10 days
It's only
actually.
been a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get into our impressions here. I have a few housekeeping items though that I do want to get into before we start the show. Last week, a couple people, and you know what? If you don't want to hear anything even political adjacent, just fast forward here a couple minutes. But last week, I did have a couple people telling me that they had heard some ice ads before the show started. Obviously, didn't like that one bit. So tried to play around with the ad settings, guys, but it still was coming through. So long story short, we just like completely have turned off all programmatic ads. So you will not hear any ads anymore of that particular message. Yeah, I'm sorry to everyone that heard that. Obviously, we don't choose like what ads play. That's just up to Podbean. But I think that yeah, that's just not something that I'll just speak for me that I'm about, obviously. So those have been shut off. A couple people did ask me like how can we, because we, I mean, we make like, I'm not going to say we make a lot of money, but we make like a modest sum from programmatic ads. So we're going to be foregoing that, which is totally fine. Like I don't want that if it's coming from ice ads. But people did ask me, hey, is there any other way that we can help out the show? Patreon.com/spnet. That is your best way. $4 gets you in the door. And yeah, Goo and I are all over that place. We're doing the Zelda Cast XL. We're doing Gooey Plays Metroid. There's a bunch of old kind of virtual theater episodes about the Zelda cartoon, about the Captain N cartoon. Donkey Kong animated show is going to make its way there eventually as well. So that will be really fun as well. Plus, just like some random other stuff like shows about wrestling, shows about music, shows about comics. Plus, you've got Middle Earth, the podcast. Allison and I and our pal Corey Richmond teaming up to talk about J.R.R. Tolkien's Legendarium, and there's some other stuff kind of hidden around there as well. So that is the best way to support the show. I think we'll just leave ads off for the foreseeable future. That just seems like the right thing to do. So I did want to acknowledge that and apologize for that. Just right off the front, this show is not about that at all. So wanted to just say that. I took it a step further on the Omega Metroid podcast. Got a lot of flack for it. And you know what? I don't care. So
hmm
there we
Yep.
go.
To be honest, it's like this is your shindig, so you got to do what you got to do. I know that it's kind of funny. I know that people, I was saying this in our Discord, that people on like YouTube can't control their ads either. And I watch a lot of like anti MLM content, and then sometimes they get MLM ads on their content, and it's just like that is not. I'm anti this. Why would I want this on my content?
What
So
is
yeah, it's kind of
MLM?
goofy. Multi-level marketing. I think we've
Ah,
had this conversation before. Yeah,
maybe we
where like
have.
pyramid schemes and stuff like that. And the reason I watch that content is because I really like cult stuff, and sometimes MLMs get a little culty. So,
Oh
um,
yeah,
yeah. So, anyways, that it's just kind of funny because they'll get MLM ads on their own content, and it's just weird. So, like, yeah, I wish we could pick and choose our ads. It's
totally.
unfortunate that we can't, but yeah,
Yeah,
they're off for now.
yeah, yeah. F ice. Okay, let's move on. We got a couple things to announce here. Actually, not to announce, I guess, but one thing that we should just mention to everybody: my baby is back. Fall Brawl is live on ZeldaDungeon.net right now. Even though we are, I mean, I guess November is still kind of fall, right?
Yeah,
Sorta.
it's
Yeah.
fall until December 21st, 22nd, whatever. Yep.
I mean, that's the technical day, but I mean, like, let's be real. Like, I feel like for me, I'm like, okay, fall is September, October, and November. So I think we're good.
It also depends on where you live, because are you already getting
True.
snow? Yeah.
No, actually, we got like a
Oh.
little bit of snow like a couple times, but it's melted since.
I feel like end of November is when we start to get the little sprinklings of snow. We don't get a lot of snow here. So that's usually when I start. Like December for me feels like winter.
Yeah.
Like
Yes. Yeah. Totally.
fall is September, October, November for me.
So, as anyone hopefully that's following the show knows, Fall Brawl is kind of an NCAA style tournament, and it's literally just a popularity contest where like various Zelda characters will go up in a bracket. They'll compete against each other for the ultimate victory prize. And what is really fun about this is you can predict the bracket. So you have to predict exactly like NCAA who's going to win each matchup, who's going to win the ultimate prize. And there's actually like a monetary prize for the winner of this. There's a $20 Nintendo eShop gift card on the line for the person that gets this right.
Nice.
It's kind of a cool tournament because you have to predict, like, not who you would personally pick or not who you think would win in like a fight. It's just like you just got to predict who's more popular. So it's really fun. It's really cool, and it was something that I pitched like many years ago, and I'm happy to see that it still lives on beyond me. So there you
I
go.
This is my first time looking at the list. Do we want any list spoilers or should we just wait?
No, I think you can say whoever you want.
I love that Calamo's already on this list.
Yeah, definitely. I will admit I had a hand in putting this bracket together with Rod. Rod like
Zill.
he put the thing together, but he did ask for my opinion, and I was like, you know what, we need some jobbers here, okay?
Yeah.
Uh,
Jobbers.
so that's why we have such heavyweights here
Uh-huh.
as let's just see, Zill,
I love Zill. A little booger boy.
Morshu. There's a couple here, but there's also some like really intense matchups. Like in the first round, like Urbosa, Happy Mass Salesman, Tetra Sidon, I think is a really good one. Null versus Demise, I think is a strong matchup. So there's going to be like really intriguing matchups every single round until you get to the final. And I've put in my prediction, Al. I don't know about you.
This is my first time looking at the list, to be honest. I too busy. How long do I have to put this? How long does anybody have when we're listening to this recording?
Great question. Stall for me while I find the answer, please. Never mind. Okay. You have got until November 26th to enter. So actually, you've got like a while to go.
Okay, cool.
So,
I'll probably do it this week,
there
but
you go.
I'm excited. I never win, so
Well, as a former winner of this tournament, Al, because I have
hate
one,
you so
okay?
much.
It does take a certain amount of savvy, courage to pick the upsets, and of course luck to secure that victory. But
My God, you're so
maybe
annoying.
you'll win, and we can talk about it together. Our shared experiences being winners.
Oh man, are we gonna do? I don't know if we have time. Are we gonna do a Zelda Cast bracket?
I I would love to, but like I do feel it did kind of come out at an inopportune time. Like I feel like
Yeah,
we got a
there's just
lot
too
of
much
Age of
happening.
Calamity,
Yep,
Age of Imprisonment to talk about.
yep.
Yeah, so maybe as a bonus show, I don't know. We could try that over on Patreon.
Hmm.
Okay, speaking, I had a really good segue there. I said the word beyond, but then we talked for too long, and my segue's gone. But I'm gonna try and recover it anyways. I want to give like kind of a plug, I guess. So the first previews for Metroid Prime 4 Beyond have dropped, and they, I don't know if mixed is the right word. Like, to almost an outlet, they were like, wow, the gameplay is awesome. It looks gorgeous. It runs great. This is classic Metroid Prime, exactly what you want. But also, almost every single outlet was like, except there is this one thing that we hate, and that was the sidekick character of Miles McKenzie, Big Mac McKenzie. And he could be best described as an NPC that has MCU dialogue that follows Samus around the entire map for the opening kind of like intro there. Now, I've listened to the footage, and I'm going to have a lot to say about it on the Omega Metroid podcast this week. I know that some people listening to this show, like, they might not be Metroid fans, but I feel like they're kind of invested in the journey to Metroid Prime 4 because they know, like, I'm really into it. So I'm going to have a lot to say about that on this week's Omega Metroid podcast. So, and it's a full episode too. We've got myself, Doom, and Dak reuniting for the first time in what seems to be a long time. So, stay tuned for that.
Nice.
I will say the years of Zelda have prepared me for the annoying companion here. So I feel like I was less offended, but I get it. I get it.
Yeah. Are there usually companions in Metroid?
Never.
Okay. That's because when you were telling me about it earlier, I was like, that's weird. I don't remember that ever being.
Well, and like, that's why it's so jarring, right?
Of course, I'm like, have only played one Metroid game, but I've listened to you talk about Metroid for 7 years. So, yeah, I was like, that's kind of weird. But it's always interesting to me when you start to see the people talk about, like, the early initial reviews and previews of the game. And I just don't trust anyone anymore. I'm just like, I have to experience it for myself.
Yeah, fair.
So.
I mean, fair.
Yeah.
Okay. The last piece of news before we get into Age of Imprisonment is there are some leaks out there, everybody.
Oh, no.
There are some leaks. The leaks are leaked footage of the upcoming Legend of Zelda movie. There is a TikTok going around, and first and foremost, we're not going to report, or we're not going to talk about the leaked footage. I feel like my position, and I think yours as well, Al, is like, you know, we'll talk about the leaks and that they're out there and warn people, but I feel like it's not fair to everybody involved with this movie to have the first footage of the movie go out like this and not in a way that they wanted to present it. That being said, like I've watched the footage. I thought it looked really good, like really good. And there was, you know, it's funny because like this movie has been so tight-lipped on its casting, and there was someone that showed up in the cast, presumably. I can't say with 100% authority, but like 99% authority. I was excited for this person to be in the movie. I think that they're really good in other roles that they've been in. So. I can't, like, it wasn't anything negative, but I feel like it's not, I don't know, not cool for us to talk about it in a way that, I just think, like, when it comes out in an official trailer, I know we had a couple people really wanting us to do an episode about the footage, but it has to come out the right way for us to do that.
Yeah. That's how I feel, because I especially in this day and age, I want to say in like the last 10, maybe 15 years, but especially in the last 5 years, like the leaks of anything has just been so outrageous. Like you see photos, you see people with their phones watching like The Last of Us be filmed in Calgary. You've got the Spider-Man stuff from No Way Home. People are leaking that actors are there that we don't know that are supposed to be there, and it's just like, honestly, it kind of gets exhausting. I'm like, I just want to experience a movie and be surprised and have a good time, and not have everything be spoiled or shown beforehand when everybody's working so hard on this project.
Yeah.
You know, I want to experience it the way they want us to experience it. So I personally didn't like stick around for the leaks. I saw a couple like stills here and there, or like I started to see it and I was like, nah, I'm not interested. And like, if you are interested in analyzing it, I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I think there is a show for that. I just don't know if it's here. So when we do get trailers, that's when we usually analyze stuff. So 100%. I'm excited for that moment.
Yeah, and you know what, like, the other thing, too, is, like, we are living in a world of generative AI. So like,
That's true too.
until this like comes out officially, I'm not ready to like put our name beside like, you know. And Zelda Dungeon just put out an article basically saying that too, where it's like we're not reporting about this because like who knows, right? Like who
Right.
knows? So
I think it's fair to definitely say they're out there and
yeah.
this is your warning, but yeah, we're not going to analyze the footage.
Yeah, so I will say maybe that moves Nintendo's hand a little bit in making a trailer like a little bit sooner
Hmm.
rather than later. Because I mean, the movie is supposed to come out in like what, early 2027.
Yes. Well, they said March, right? And then did they delay it? I can't remember. I can't keep up with news these days.
Yeah, I think it got delayed from March till May. You know, I will say this: what a good spot for a first Legend of Zelda teaser. In like, could you ask for a better spot than in the new Super Mario Bros. Movie or the new Super Mario
Ooh.
Galaxy movie?
Yeah, that'd be fun. Oh my God, I
Which
haven't
by the
even
way,
had
just
time
got
to watch.
a trailer coming out with Brie Larson as
I'm super excited
Rosalina.
about that.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
so excited that she's getting into like Nintendo, either voice acting or whatever. Hopefully one day she'll be your guys' Samus, but
Oh, I hope
for
so.
now, I'm so excited for her because she's always been a Nintendo super fan, you know?
And like, she's also just been someone that, for some unknown reason, the internet just hates. Like,
It's just when
I shouldn't
it's
say the whole internet. It's like it's a subsection of the internet. It's probably exactly who you, like the subsection you think. But like, it's so weird. Like, I'm like, what has Brie Larson ever done to anybody? You know?
I don't know. It's like it's kind of funny one of those things where maybe she was just popping up and she was taking a role of like a popular character or a strong independent woman, and so people get really iffy about that. You know, and then you have like the actors and actresses too that are just like in everything now. So like Pedro's getting a lot of hate right now because he's just in everything, and it's just like it's exhausting. Isn't it exhausting to just hate so much? I find it exhausting.
I mean, I love being a hater for the right thing. I will say, but for stuff
I
like that, I'm just like, okay.
I don't. I just need go touch grass. Like
Well, anyway, so I mean, like that would be a great spot to have the Zelda trailer. I feel like I mean, like
yeah.
Mario movie is like a kids movie, and this is probably going to be well, maybe like a young. I don't know. I feel like the Zelda movie might have like the same tone as like the Hunger Games or something like that. It's like kind of a young
Okay.
adult movie, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a feeling that that's kind of where we were going to go too because they are teenagers and everything. So I
Yeah.
didn't think we were going to get something particularly adult, but I also didn't think we were going to get anything super childish. So I like the Hunger Games and I like young adult films and stuff like that. So I'm okay with it.
Yeah. I thought the Hunger Games was like fine. I I
Mhm.
I can't say I've seen like a ton of like YA book adaptations, but I mean, they're certainly not like terrible. So like if the Zelda movie followed that, I think that'd be fine. But you know what? The other thing I thought of was like Nintendo is so tight-lipped about things, and granted, I don't know how like hands-on Nintendo is with this or not, but like like this guy that leaked the footage. I will say, so I watch the footage. This idiot like posts a selfie first. He's like, oh, ho, ho, and then shows the
Oh
footage.
no.
And I was like, dude, what are you doing? Which almost made me think like this was a plant, like this was intended to come
Oh,
out. Because I was like, this dude is like, you know,
wow.
I don't know.
That is pretty not smart.
No, not at all.
Unless it's like I highly doubt Nintendo like intended for this to happen. So, but that's the energy you get from a guy like that, you know?
Yeah. So
I
yeah,
don't know.
it's interesting. So yeah, beware that footage is out there. If you want to see it, I've watched it. I don't think it's anything like worth like obviously it's only a couple seconds. So there's no plot or anything like that. But
Yeah.
you do see some costumes. So
Okay.
there you go. Okay, Al. Age of Imprisonment.
Hey Andy, guess what?
What?
I actually finished chapters 3 and 4 this week.
Well, that's what you said last week until we determined like halfway through the show that you didn't.
Oh
So
my God, I
we'll need
messed up so
some
bad.
fact checkers over here for that.
There are 6 levels in chapter 4, and I did all 6 of them. And so,
It does feel like the chapters. So originally when I pitched like we're gonna do chapter 1 to 2 and then like 3 and 4, I was kind of basing it off Age of Calamity, which I believe had 7 chapters.
I think I had 7.
this one only has 6
Okay.
chapters, and to be honest, it really only has 5. So like there was like a lot to fit into like chapter 4 and 3. I will admit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we'll get into it. I have a lot of feelings. Some are critiques, but I have a lot of positive feelings, so I feel like we might be banging heads a little bit here, button heads.
Okay, so here is what I think that we should do, because I actually beat Age of Calamity's main story last night. I was
Okay.
trying to go a little bit slow, for you, so that we could be kind of on the same wavelength. But I was just like, I just wanted to get it done. So I went ahead and I beat it last night. So I'm going to reserve talking about the story as a whole. I think until next week. I think if you beat chapter 4, Al, you should have no problem finishing this game by next week.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have a lot
Yeah,
more time next weekend too,
yeah.
so.
I mean, you have 1, 2, 3, 4. You have 4 missions until you beat the game. Five missions technically, but whatever. Um,
Okay.
so we'll talk about the story kind of like as it happens in like through chapter 3 and 4, and we'll also talk about the roster today, because the roster is I'm walking a line here because I don't want to be spoilery, but let's just get into it when we get there. But the roster, I think, is something that we can spend a lot of time talking about today as well. Um, I I think so. I definitely have some positive things to say about Age of Imprisonment, like my impressions from, like, let's call it the middle of this of the game. I have to admit to everybody, the more I played Age of Imprisonment, the less I was enthralled with this game. Like it was
Mhm.
like diarrhea. The longer it went on, the worse it got.
Oh my God. That's rough. Okay.
Yeah, and yeah, there's been a lot of, like, I think, like, back and forth among the Zelda Dungeon Discord. You have some people that are enjoying the game and what it has to offer, and I would certainly not try and talk anyone that is enjoying the game out of enjoying it. But I do think there's like a vast majority, maybe not a vast majority, but I would say a majority of people that are maybe not as high on Age of Imprisonment as people that are. Do you think that's fair to say?
I think that's fair to say, and I'm also of the same mind where this is such a the gameplay style of this game makes it very divisive. Like, and I feel like if you don't like it, you don't like it. I'm never going to convince you or try to
Totally.
convince you to like it. Um and also, like, we disagree on a lot of stuff when it comes to Zelda, and like sometimes I feel like my goal is to maybe like have you see my side, or I don't feel like I'm going to do that with this game. I just don't feel like this game is it to like fight for. I know there's stuff I like, I know there's stuff that you dislike, and there's stuff that I dislike and stuff that you like. So that's just what it's going to
Hmm.
be. So I think there's stuff we'll find common ground with, and then there's just stuff we're going to disagree with, but I'm not going to fault you for it because I do think this is a very fault-filled game. So,
Yeah. Well, let's talk about what you said initially, because I want to expand on that. Like, the gameplay style, yes, like it's not for everyone, and for me, like, definitely, I could take or leave the Warriors gameplay, but I don't think it's fair for anybody to come into this game and be like, this game sucks because it's button mashing Warriors. Like, you know what you're getting if you get this
right.
game, right? Like, I don't think
Yes.
that's a fair critique. Like, you there is some onus on the people buying it, right? So we'll talk about the gameplay, because I actually think that's like the biggest strength of this game. I have to say, is like
Mhm.
as far as like a warrior style game is, this might be the best. Like,
I think I agree. I like a lot of the new stuff that's added to like the combat, and like I
yeah,
feel like once I finally got used to what was going on and got past like all of the tutorial pages that pop up, because I feel like there's a lot and it goes really far into the game, and I'm like, that's a
hmm,
bit unnecessary. Just teach me at the beginning, you know?
yeah,
Once you get past that though, like, and you get your groove of combos and like special attacks, fast attacks,
yeah.
strong attacks, like, and the sync strikes, I'm having a blast with the fighting playstyle. Like, it's really sometimes it's a little strategic, and I found that like by the end of chapter 4, I'm like, it's getting faster. Like these characters, like you're supposed to be fast now. And I find that a fun challenge. So I'm actually having a lot of fun with it. And I would say it definitely improved from Hyrule Warriors to Age of Calamity, and it's improved again from Age of Calamity to Age of Imprisonment.
Yeah, I would say like definitely from Hyrule Warriors to Age of Calamity was like a huge leap for me. Like I found Age of
Hmm.
Calamity like quite like again like quite playable. I thought that the way that they did special attacks with like the it was kind of synced to the Sheikah Stone or the Sheikah Slate rather was really good. And like this game I think like does a good job of that as well. Although I will admit it's more of a steeper learning curve because now instead of like the familiar like bombs or stasis
Hmm.
or whatever, like you have like these special attacks with symbols on them, and the symbols kind of like dictate like are you grabbing something and throwing it back, are you just like breaking up an attack, and like some of it is special attacks and some of the symbols also appear on zonai devices as well. So
Hmm.
it is a little bit of a steep learning curve, and like for all of the tutorials that the game gives you, I still kind of feel like it's not that elegantly explained, but once you get it, like I feel like it's really fun.
Yeah, it's like weird. They have this whole tutorial section of the game where you're like training with Zelda, right? In the initial chapter,
Yeah,
but they teach you like the bare minimum basics. And then
yeah.
throughout the next two chapters, I want to say well into chapter 3, you're still unlocking stuff that you can do with these different characters. And I find that a little bit frustrating because I'm like, I just finally picked up on the last thing you taught me. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So like give me the
totally.
big ol' tutorial at the beginning so
Yeah,
that I kind of get the feel for it and then I could play the game.
yeah. But I mean, like, yeah, like the game runs great. I feel
Hmm.
like
Yep.
it looks good. There's like, I mean, yes, you're button mashing. It's a Warriors game. Like, if you hate this style of game, this is not going to change your opinion, right? Like, it's not. But for the type of gameplay that Warriors games offer, like I really would feel confident. Not that I've played a lot or any Dynasty Warriors games, but like I think like this is like pretty good. Like as far as that type of gameplay goes, like um so yeah, like I feel like the combos and stuff like that are really fun. The sync strikes I feel like are really fun to an extent. Like there's definitely some unique ones, but then you do see,
A
and
little
this
repetitive.
goes into the roster build, but like you
Yeah.
see there's a lot of very repetitive sync strikes as well, and like they're definitely not built equal. So like if you have a sync strike and you're playing as like Raru or Zelda or Minoru or the Knight Construct or Calamo, pretty good for the most part.
Hmm.
I would say the rest of the roster pretty weak for sync strikes.
I think it depends on the character mashup. So if you are playing as a sage and you sync strike with one of the other main characters, the sync strike is really cool. But
Yeah,
if you're playing as a main character and you sync strike with a sage, you kind of just get a buff of their
yeah.
element. Um, and then definitely when you start to get even lower on the roster, it just kind of diminishes from there. I feel like Calamo, if you are playing another character and you sync strike with him, he has the same move. But if it's the opposite, you have something kind of unique. So yeah, it just kind of depends on the different. Like one of the things that I like doing during this is playing as different characters and like seeing all the sync strikes, and I'm like, okay, that's the same, or oh, that
Yeah.
was unique and different. So I agree, they're not all equal, and it just depends on the combo.
I mean, like they're not offensively bad though either,
No,
right? Like
they're still cool. Yeah.
they're fine. Like at worst they're fine, and at best they're pretty cool. So like
Hmm.
it's a really cool system, and yeah, like I think there's like the gameplay in general like is very fun. Now I will say, like this is almost the identical game to Age of Calamity. Like if
Hmm.
you played Age of Calamity, you've almost played this game. Like there's not like that much of a difference. Like you still go in, you have your powerful monsters that require like your attention, and then you beat up all like the geeks around you at the same time. So it's familiar enough, but maybe like I would say a touch too familiar. Although Six Strikes are pretty cool, but I think like in general, like the gameplay is where this game shines. Is
Hmm.
my verdict on it.
Yeah, I agree. I like the gameplay. Again, it's not for everybody. I want to say
Yeah.
like if anybody is concerned that they're too similar. For me, like my standard was this is a Warriors game in a wild era, you know? So like I knew that it was going to be a lot like Age of Calamity with
Hmm.
maybe some evolution, some tweaks. And there are some of those there, maybe not a lot, but like if anybody's surprised by that, I don't know, like it's kind of the same as saying you're playing a Warriors game. Like you kind of know what to expect going into it.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to follow up on that in a bit because there's definitely a lot of familiarity to Age of Calamity, but I don't know if like the gameplay. I think the gameplay feels maybe more familiar than it actually is because of some other factors as well, which we'll get into. But we were also wondering what their replacement for like the Divine Beast levels was going to be as
Hmm.
well, and you and I were kind of hypothesizing like, wouldn't it be
Hmm.
cool if you had dragons and you could just like go and muck
Yeah.
up all these enemies and stuff like that. So that is not in this game. And in fact, dragons of any kind are not in this game. So,
I'm sorry, Andy.
well, there you go. I guess I was wrong, but I was wrong about a lot of things, which we'll get into as well. But so what they did instead is they basically made a Star Fox game, and
Yeah, they did. I didn't even think of that.
they put in they put it like, so when you're the mysterious construct who, can we just say to people like at this point he gets a rename to the Night Construct.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think
Yeah,
that
he
I think
gets
that's
that at
fair.
the end of chapter 3 or the start of chapter 4.
Yeah, so mysterious slash Night Construct. So he kind of turns into a bird. He's flying, and all of a sudden you're just like, you get beams, you get like lightning or fire or ice beams and rockets, and you're just playing the Star Fox level, and there's like stuff coming at you, and I gotta say it's really fun actually.
It's like Vomito, those levels from Age of Calamity where you play as the giant bird divine beast. It's a lot like that, except you're smaller and more agile.
Yeah.
And I think when we saw, was it the last trailer or second last trailer when we saw the construct up against the Gleeok, I'm like, those are going to be the divine beast levels. Like it looks very cinematic, and that's what it was. Like that's exactly the case. I feel like there are points in it where it's kind of a little choppy, but I felt that same way about the divine beast
Yeah.
because it's very controlled. They guide you. It's not like you have free reign of where you're facing. But it's still a lot of fun. It's still a very like let's just blow everything up kind of levels. And with
Yeah.
very cinematic, like cool stuff, especially in the sky. I just did one where you're in the depths. Really cool.
I mean, I thought it was really fun. It does feel like a little bit out of left field, like kind of the first time that you're playing it. It doesn't feel as natural as like crunching enemies with the Divine Beast did, I think is fair to
Hmm.
say. But I thought that it was like fun enough.
Yeah.
I'm just like, man, maybe the next game that Koei-Temco should make is like a Star Fox game, because like they might have something here, like with their formula.
Hmm.
But yeah, like I thought that again, like gameplay wise, those levels stuck out to me. I was a little bit disappointed that like you really only see like one or two Gleeoks here
Hmm.
to encounter, and like I guess like spoiler for the end game, but like that's it. Like you don't fight a Gleeok or anything like that. So
Hmm.
that was a little bit too bad. But I think those levels themselves were pretty fun. They, like, again, I can't say that they felt as natural to the story, or maybe even as fun as like the Divine Beast levels did in Age of Calamity, but they were like a welcome break, and a fine enough like set piece for the game.
Substitution.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the levels. Like I said, some parts feel a little clunky, but you get past that really quick. And they're a lot of fun. And so when they pop up on my map, I'm kind of looking forward to doing them.
Okay, so let's go through kind of the story here of chapters 4 and 3, and like I've got my game in front of me here, but basically like a lot of the story of these chapters is kind of just recruiting the sages. It
Hmm.
seemed to take a long time to get these sages up to like into the group here, and obviously you have like the side story. I shouldn't even say side story. Like honestly, the Night Constructed Calamo story feels like the main story of this game, um, which is, I don't know. But you kind of have the side story of them going on as well. But like the big story playing out here is like Rauru, Zelda, and Minoru have been forced out of Hyrule Castle. And by the way, I'm so sorry. Spoilers here, guys. So I hope that you knew that getting into this because we've labeled these episodes as such. But spoilers here for chapters 3 and 4, okay? So the Sonya scene plays out exactly as it does in the game. No real added context to this scene or anything like that. We do see what happens to Rauru and Zelda and Minoru immediately after. So they go to... oh, God, I'm blanking on that canyon. What's that canyon where they go with the...
Canabar, I think.
Yeah. The place where you get the tunic of the wild.
Temple is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where they go. And you just kind of see like shots of their war room. You'll see a lot of shots of these guys standing around a table talking about strategy, and a lot of the plot honestly really centers around recruiting Kia, recruiting Artie, recruiting Agriston. Agriston, by the way, I think we were both wrong with the pronunciation of that one. How were you saying it again?
So I was saying Agriston because his name ends with an O, but Agriston is fine.
Yeah, I think I was saying like Agraston.
Yeah.
Like a grass starter. So Agriston,
I was thinking like aggressive, but
yeah. And you obviously recruit Rafika as well. And that I feel like that really does kind of take like a long time to do here in the story. So the pacing is a little bit all over the place.
I want to say that's like the majority of chapter 3 is, I don't know if it's so much recruiting as you're going around to see what's happening with Hyrule and like everybody's in turmoil, which is very similar formula to Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. Everybody is literally having nature, cultural, horrific things happening to them and they need help.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's stuff going on with Kia, Agriston, like everybody is having a really rough time. It's awful.
And Rafika is dealing with Calamo and the mysterious construct for a long time of this as well. But so we've talked about the good before, which is like the gameplay is really fun. The night construct flying levels are really fun. Let's talk about some of the bad, or at least bad in my opinion.
Okay.
I do think like, and we talked about how earlier like people are like, oh my god, this feels exactly the same as Age of Calamity. Like, what's going on? So, and I'm going to leave Artie out here for just a quick second. I just want to focus on the first 3 for a sec. But, like, I will say, so you play the game, and eventually you unlock Rafika, you unlock Kia, you unlock Agriston, and you're going all around Hyrule, and, like, I guess, like, for me, I'm like, man, I'm excited to play in ancient, like, prehistoric Hyrule, 10,000 years in the past. Like, there's gonna be so much that's different, so much that's changed, so much that we just maybe didn't know, or I don't know, something. And I gotta say, like, these ancient Hyrule looks identical to present day Hyrule almost. Like they're in terms of like level design, like these are basically copy and paste levels from Age of Calamity. Like there is no difference between the levels in Age of Calamity to Age of Imprisonment. And like on a gameplay level, I think that's fine. But just on like a design level, it is a little bit disappointing, I think.
I think my vibe of it was there was a big focus on the one-to-one of the levels in Age of Calamity. I don't feel that focus in this game. In fact, all the levels, they're basically the same. Even when you do like a main level and you have the big map. Well, when you do the side levels, it's just a smaller part of that big map, you know? And yeah, it does look very similar, but to me, it's just like that wasn't their focus in this game, which is a little disappointing. I would have liked to have seen them have a focus of like, obviously we don't know what Hyrule looked like back then, but I mean, it's got to be like kind of the same idea, but like definitely 10,000 years worth of change. So I would have liked if they had a little bit of a focus on like one for one what this may have looked like, but I just don't think that was their focus, probably because it was so far in the past and they were just like, we need to have the generic areas look like this. And is that lazy? Probably, but I mean,
yeah, I guess I'm just like, what was humanity doing 10,000 years ago, Al? Like,
well, they were only just founding Hyrule. Like they said that it was like 6 months of Rauru like talking to the Gerudo initially. So like they only just founded the place.
I'm just saying, like, they're like, look at planet Earth, and like there's so much 10,000 years, like there wasn't a single city. Humans were hunter gatherers back then, okay? And yeah, like yes, obviously I know that I'm equating like real world to fantasy, so like maybe you shouldn't do that. But even in like Lord of the Rings, okay? Like you look at like the first age of Middle Earth compared to the third, like things are vastly different. And again, like I don't know, for me, I'm not saying like we need like the detailed like timeline of like this happened at this year and then this happened at that year, but I was left a little bit wanting because I was just like, this looks exactly like Age of Calamity. You've got Koroks on the map exactly like Age of Calamity. And I think like the other thing that I would say as well, Al, is that, and I'll throw Artie into this. I left her out for story reasons, but I'm gonna throw her into gameplay reasons. Like these four sages, like they are like this almost the identical character playable wise as the four champions. I know that
I
there's
don't know
like
if I
subtle
agree with you.
differences. They are similar enough to me.
Okay.
And maybe it's just the fact that like each of them has an element and each of them wields the same weapon and each of them is of the same race. So like how
Okay,
different can
that's
you
fair.
be?
That's very fair on those parts. Yes.
I feel like though, like when I think of Age of Calamity, I was like, oh, Sidon and Mipha played totally differently, and Yunobo and Daruk played totally differently, right? Teba and Rivali, but
They
and
play
Riju
differently.
and Urbosa played totally differently too. But like
Yeah.
these four, I'm just like these guys feel exactly like the four champions to me, and this has made worse, which we'll get into in a little bit. But
I want
I
to in like from my opinion, I feel like they're different enough, but I was also able to see the differences between the champions in the last game, and I almost feel like these stages are a mix of the champions from the last game. So, like, I'll just give one quick example, but I've found these examples in all the characters. Like you've got Rivali, whose focus is like on the elemental arrows, especially bomb arrows, and his like upward drift. And then
mm,
you've got Teba, who's more about these whirlwinds, you know. And then you've got Rafika, who is kind of a mix, where he's got like these whirlwinds. He sometimes uses like elemental arrows, but his like style is more like fireworks, and like he doesn't do like the huge ginormous like multiple shots. He has little multiple shots, and his stuff is a little bit more controlled instead of like wild like the other two. So I feel like he's a little bit more, in here in this space. So like I can see the differences, and I feel like they're different enough. I do understand they do have the same weapons, they're the same race, they have the same elements. Although like another example with Rafika is like his wind is like that specific sage green wind, you know what I mean?
mhm.
So like I do see the differences with these characters, and I think it's enough.
I mean, like, I'm not saying they're one for one. Like, that wouldn't be fair, but they
Hmm.
are very similar. I felt like to
Hmm.
like I actually like I look at a character like Minoru, who I isn't my favorite playable character, but I'm like, man, like these moves are so unique and they look cool and they're like
Hmm.
really like she might have the coolest animation moves of any character in the game actually, or even like Princess Zelda. Like they went out of their way to make Zelda very different than she was in Age of Calamity, and
Hmm.
I just don't know if I feel like that same care was given to the four champions. Um, let's go back to the good though for a quick second and focus on the other side of the story. So you do get the Night Construct and Calamo, and I think that's like a charming enough little story that they have.
Hmm.
Um, I think that Calamo is like a perfectly fine playable character, a
Hmm.
definite step up from Hestu. I think.
Yeah.
Would you agree? Yeah.
Yeah, he's smaller, more agile. Hesto was fun, but like kind of clunky.
Yeah.
But I really like Calamo. He's like swift, you know?
hmm he's kind of grading at first too, but I have to admit, like by the end of the game, I was like, okay, this little guy's not he's not like too bad.
I love Calamo. I think he's so fun. His voice actor's great. It's a good time.
Your mileage will vary on his voice actor, I will say. No, not the performance, because I think the performance is across the board. Like the performances are all good, but
Hmm.
the dialogue and the manner that it's being asked to be delivered in, I think your mileage is going to vary on that. But
Hmm. Yeah. Okay, that's fair.
yeah, as far as like that story goes, like I thought that it was like a fine little story for up to a point, and I can't remember if that point happens in chapter 4 or chapter 5. But when did the parties converge? Al, have has
So the
everyone?
parties converge, I want to say at the start of chapter 4,
That's what I thought.
when they finally all come together in the desert.
Yeah. Um, I will say, let's just go on to it. So we finally recruit Artie, who's the last playable character in chapter 4, and I thought that this would be like a really interesting story, and like it kind of was, but kind of wasn't, in that like I thought that there would be a lot of like room to explore this character and like the frustration with like Ganondorf and stuff like that, and they don't
Mm-hmm.
really touch upon that, to be honest. Like once Artie joins the party, she's just kind of like another playable character, but I thought that that sequence was like, I don't know, cool enough. But I will say I was a little bit let down when the Knight Construct joins the party, and then like everyone instantly is just like, oh, this guy's our savior. He's so great. He's just this great Knight Construct, and I felt like it just kind of took away from like Zelda a little bit as a main character, like a playable character, and to even to
Mm-hmm.
an extent Raru. I don't know if you felt the same way, and it's certainly not like a big deal, but it was something that I noticed. I felt like it undermined Zelda a little bit.
I don't know if I feel that way. I feel like one of the highlight characters is actually Rauru more so than Zelda. And
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I kind of get like this is Zelda's story in the past, but I feel like this is almost Rauru's story to be honest.
Oh, it
And
is.
like that's who's taken over for me. I don't know if I feel that way about the construct. I feel like when they see this construct, all these people have either fought constructs that have kind of gone rogue, or that scary one that Ganondorf has like his power in. So they're like, "Oh, constructs are bad," but like this guy, he's helping us. Like he's like selflessly helping. Of course, he's a construct, but like that's why maybe that people are like kind of gravitating towards him and all that kind of stuff. I like the separation of them. Even when they're brought together, they still go on and do separate stuff. Like even side missions are all separate. And this to me helps with like the canon story where you've talked about this in the past, is like what is this stuff that we haven't seen, we don't know, that could be happening on the side that Zelda doesn't really like partake in. And that's what is happening with this construct. So
Hmm.
I'm okay with like where the construct's at in the story. I don't feel like he's taken over. I think Rauru is the highlight of the story.
Raru is definitely the highlight, and he like it's funny because like this game has so many characters, but in a way I feel like it doesn't have like one main character, and sometimes that can
Hmm.
work, but like sometimes it also just kind of feels like you should just have like a main character, and I feel
Hmm.
like the game does kind of waffle between Raru and the Knight Construct, and Zelda very much I feel like feels like a bit player in this story.
Hmm.
Just kind of shows up, and we'll talk about it more next week when we really go into the story, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. I want to make sure that I'm not about to spoil anything for you here, Al.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna save talking about a couple levels until next week as well, but I mean that's honestly like the big story beats for these two chapters is like you recruit all four sages. You learn about the relationship between Calamo and the Knight Construct, and eventually the parties kind of link up, and yeah,
Well, the second half, or maybe the two-thirds half of chapter 4, is the sages getting the secret stones and being like promoted to sages. They're no longer
hmm
envoys, right?
yeah,
And then the slow step to fighting back. Because at this point, you're just like hacking and slashing monsters, and they're like, we're not getting anywhere. They're just gonna keep coming. So
yeah.
we need plans to actually like have a comeback, and that's what they start in
You need a
the
round
end of
table and a
chapter
map
4.
and a good speech, and that's when the tides turn. Just like in
Yeah,
Star Wars.
except like the tides turn and Ganondorf's like, "Nuh-uh," and he goes and burns a forest, and that was really sad. Like that was the
Okay,
last.
that's when I was just like, I can't remember if that happened in chapter
It
5 or
was the
chapter
last
4.
level of chapter 4.
I will say that felt like maybe the most consequential thing in the game, where Ganondorf just
Yeah,
burns the forest, and I was just like,
I was so
dang,
upset. And then
yeah,
Calamo actually like explaining how Koroks are born there, and their livelihood is to go out and plant their own trees and make their own forests. And he was just so sad staring at all the trees on fire. I was like, oh my God, this is like it was probably one of the stronger story moments, to be honest.
it might be the strongest story moment in the game. Like that
I was really like shook up by it. I was like, oh my God.
I was just like, it felt like a daring and like daring, right? But like it felt like kind of like a choice that had consequences, and it was like, oh, like this actually does feel like kind of different and does feel like its
Hmm.
own unique thing. So I quite like that moment as well. when that happened. So yeah, I think like that was a pretty cool story beat. Um, Again, like the sages getting the secret stones, like you've seen that in Tears of the
Right,
Kingdom.
we've seen it.
So that I I want to save most of my story thoughts for next week, but I
Hmm.
just I feel like we in chapter 4 and chapter 3, I don't know if we learned anything that we didn't know in Tears of the Kingdom beyond just like the sub story of the Knight construct and like what he was doing. And the Knight construct is just kind of like fighting his own side quest against the Forbidden construct as well. So like it kind of almost is like a wash. There was some stuff that they kind of inferred, but again, I want to save that for next week. But yeah,
I feel like maybe I disagree with you because the stuff that we learned is we finally learned these sages are. Like we in
yeah,
Tears, all
yeah.
we got were like these like faceless voices in like forms, and we don't really know anything about them. And then so the point of chapter 3 is going out to like help all these people and recruit the quote unquote recruit them, or just like bring them and be like, hey, we're gonna fight the Demon King. Do you want to join us? And they're like, yeah, hell yeah. And so I feel like this is finally the moment where we learned a lot about these sages. And I know you told me they feel paper thin to you, but
They
I
do.
disagree. I feel like feel as fleshed out as the other champions that we've like anything that we've gotten about them.
That's not
It's
a
as
high
much as
bar.
them.
Like that's not
I
a
know,
super high bar.
but like let me so for example, like Kia, she is very young and was being trained to take over as queen. But her father is murdered, and all of the other Zora are really distraught by this and are like, Princess, you have to go back. And she's like, I'm no longer your princess. I'm your queen. Let's go. And she completely takes the mantle. She's young, she's reckless, she's ferocious, and she's also not always right. She has some like very prideful thoughts, and then she comes later to, regret those thoughts and be like, I was wrong. Or like Rafika, he's like a strategist, a calculator, and he deals completely in favors because of an old myth that he believes in about his people, Basically karma is what he believes in. And so I feel like you do learn about these personalities, and I really like these characters. So I don't know.
And
I
that's
feel
totally
really good
fine.
about what we've learned about them.
That's totally fine. I think like for me, I'm just like what you described about Kia. Kia is probably the one with the most, which is funny because I thought it'd be Artie, but Kia is the one with the most kind of like story to her. I think,
Hmm.
um, but I think it's just a case of like you did it once with Daruk, with Mifa, with Rivali, with Urbosa. You did it a second time with the new champions, Yunobo and Sidon, and like it's like this is our third round of 4 champions that are like kind of have like one defining trait each to them, and like are very like let's save Hyrule. I fight for the land and the people and stuff, and like I guess like I don't know like what you really want to expect out of like a new out of new characters and stuff like that, but I think, and I don't know what they would have or could have done to like make these guys a little bit more engaging to me, but I think it's just like yeah, this is like the third go around where like we've had like these 4 heroes of each race come together for the greater good of Hyrule, and it feels
Hmm.
a little long in the tooth to me at this point. I will say to your point though, I think all four sages are like fine, like they're fine
Hmm.
characters. I didn't actively dislike any of them.
Hmm. I feel like for me, Agerson is probably the weakest. I feel like you don't get very much from him. You know that he likes to play it
Yeah,
safe. He's a wise, worldly. It's kind of fun to see him and Kia together because they're complete opposites, not just elementally, but like strategy and like how you live your life wise. He's slow, she's fast, and so it's kind of fun when they interact.
opposite
Um,
archetypes too, because typically it's the Goron that's kind of like feisty and
I know, and
yeah,
I think that's fun. It's fun to see them in, and it's even fun when you get like Daruk and Yunobo, and I don't want to say they're dumb, but they're kind of played of like not super wise. Whereas
yeah.
Agerson is the one who comes over to Kia and is like, it's kind of interesting how the world plays out differently than we think, and she's like, yeah, you're right, So I think unfortunately Agerson is probably the weaker of the 4. And then Artie is a little bit weaker than I was anticipating her to be. I agree. I thought she was going to be the
Yes.
strongest. But I feel like you really, because you have so many levels and cutscenes with Kia and Rafika, I feel like they're the strongest.
I wouldn't say that about Rafika. I feel like Rafika is just like kind of. I think you're just partial to the Rito.
I
But
am partial to the Rito. So, like, I get introduced to Rafika and I was like, yes. And
see, I'm
I
partial to
thought
the
it was,
Gerudo a little bit myself.
yeah.
Um,
Oh man, I felt so bad because at the end of the level, the first level you get with Rafika, and he's like, "Well, our village may be in like maybe splinters, but at least all of our people are safe." And I'm like, "Oh my God, their whole village was destroyed! Like, not only was Kia's dad murdered, but the whole Rito village completely like just razed to the ground. That's
it's
awful."
too bad you don't see Rito Village race to the ground or see a cutscene or anything like that.
Well, you don't see any of their homes really. Like
I
even in
know.
the desert, you don't see like the Gerudo town. You don't
I
see
know.
you. I think you barely see Goron City in like the distance.
If that, like, it does, it feels a little bit weird that you don't see, and what a great opportunity to see like
Right.
where we
I
started
agree.
versus where we end up. So
Hmm.
yes, I agree. I was expecting Artie to be kind of like a cool character. Like none of these guys have arcs. Like I don't think like they have their characters, they have their defining trait, and like they don't really
Hmm.
change over the course of the game.
I mean, I would disagree. I think they have small arcs. They're not
Mm,
substantial in any way, but like
yeah.
Agreson's arc is the revenge against the Grim Goma. Kia's
Oh
is she has strong feelings about the construct. She's like, that's bad because one murdered my father. You've got Artie, who obviously she is having issues that their chief like completely betrayed them and is betraying the way of Gerudo, and they
yeah.
all elect her as the new chief. So like I do think they go through little mini arcs, but they're not big by any means like they should be.
Yeah. So I mean, again, like I don't like dislike these four sages. It does kind of feel like rinse repeat a little bit to me.
Hmm.
Which is not helped by the fact I feel like that in terms like their personality is similar, the way that they're introduced is similar. Plus,
My gosh.
they kind of
I didn't
play
get
similar. They
personality.
kind of, you know what I mean? Like, um,
I understand what you're saying. I just don't think it's as in my mind. I don't think they're as similar as
right.
I think the only similarities is they're the same race, they have the same weapon, and they have the same elemental powers. And I feel like that's where it ends for me.
That's a lot of similarities, right? I mean, either way, like that's totally fine. Let's talk about another similarity that I think is like far more egregious
Hmm.
than the four champions, and that is the four archfiends.
Oh yeah.
What is your opinion of the four archfiends?
I mean, I don't feel very strongly about them. I don't have anything wrong with them. I appreciate that they tried to be a little bit different. They even gave them voices, which I don't think the voices are
I
all
do
that
not think that
good.
helped them at all.
Yeah, I think that maybe you should have just had them be screaming monsters. But I appreciate that they're like all thought of as like a creature with bright red hair. They have the crazy like eyes, and they somewhat look different from their counterpart. I think the coolest one was probably the Muktarok one. Like he was cool. He was like covered in sludge, and then you get the sludge off, and he's like this slender kind of like Gearheim looking guy. And I thought that he was probably the coolest one. I think the one that disappointed me the most was the Gibdo. Like she just sounded like a whiny baby, and I killed her instantly. Like she was pretty easy to take out for me. So I was just a little disappointed when she's the hardest one in Tears. So
Yeah.
and she probably looks more like the Tears counterpart, except for her creepy. She has this creepy like spider crawl thing. Didn't like that.
I was disappointed in all four equally. This to
Okay.
me, I was just like, God, this is like a lazy rinse and repeat of the blights.
Hmm.
I just don't know if there's any other way to categorize it. Like, it's like, okay, let's just get four big monsters that we need to go fight, and because we can't get to Ganondorf right away, and like here's our archfiends. And I was like, we have come up with like anything better than this?
Hmm.
Um, I was very disappointed in the presentation of these enemies. Like we're about to get there. We're about to get to the roster, but like if it were me, I would have maybe just like leaned into like Zelda history, and like if you have to have like four goons for everybody to like get to, be like, okay, one of them's gonna be like Twin Rova, who, by the way, is like completely absent from this game. Like you see her in the opening cutscene, and like they're gone from the rest of the game, which is disappointing. But I might have had like Twin Rova as one of them. I might have had like what's his face from A Link to the Past, the Dark Priest as one of them.
Aghanim?
Yeah, or like, you know what I mean, just like a visual homage to it. So like again, you kind of like, you're like, oh, I know that character, even though they're brand new, right? Like quote unquote, I know that character. I might have like I would have maybe had someone that kind of looks like Vadi, or maybe someone that, you know what I mean, just like something that like plays into Zelda history, but like doesn't contradict any canon by like a similar level of character being there. So at least you kind of have like some like attachment to these villains you're fighting, because like this, I was just like, man, like just the 4 generic monsters, like again, like
I get where you're coming from, and I think that what you're saying is valid. I think there's an explanation for it. It might not be a good one though. So you have that game with Hyrule Warriors where you have those different historical villains. You've got Vagia, you've got Vati, you've got all these people who are like, you can look at them and be like, I know what game you're coming from. And then you get to Age of Calamity, and like your big 4 villains are just a rehash of the Blights, because it makes sense that,
and that makes sense
your
for that
champions
game. Yeah.
fought the Blights, right? And you're like bringing familiarity from Breath of the Wild. You're not going to bring in some like old characters that like Breath of the Wild fans are not going to know who these people are.
Totally.
I feel like they did that with Tears, and maybe that's not a good thing that they did that, but they were just like, we need familiarity from Tears. We're not going to bring in something else. It needs to be within this Tears sphere. So it's going to be the 4 bosses that you fight in Tears, but like slightly different, a different paint. I feel like that's the most reasonable thing why they did that, but like that doesn't mean it's necessarily a good decision.
Yeah, I mean, I get why they did it. Yeah, you know what would have even been a better explanation is like, instead of 1 forbidden construct, there's 5. Like 1 for each sage. Like even that I think would have been better than the Archfiends. And maybe it's not like, I'm sure there's people that are just like, oh, who cares? It's just and it's like, well, like it's just like a lot of the little things I feel like that just kind of take me out of the game, and like I don't know. I think that just felt like I get why they did it, because they want the bosses to be the same, but like I don't know. I was just like, oh god, this is lame. Like this is, I don't know. I don't know how else to say. I thought it was lame.
Okay, fair enough. I felt kind of indifferent about it. I'm like, oh, they look a little different. Cool. I don't know if they needed voice acting.
That I thought was terrible. And by the way, the names of them is just terrible. Like Grim Goma, Grim Gibdo, Grim whatever. Like it's like this is just like the most generic of names that you could possibly have.
See, when you said that about like the sages, and I disagreed with you. I agree with you now. Like that is very generic, and it is very recycled. And it's unfortunate because like I feel like a lot of the voice acting in this game is like exceptional, except for those 4. I was just like, oh, they picked poorly, or the sound effects that they did with them is poor, because like you've got these creepy giant monsters and they sound small. They sound like people. It was weird.
All right. We've talked about the good. We've talked about the bad. Let's talk about the ugly, Al. When we were talking in the multiple weeks leading up to Age of Imprisonment, this game is in a tough spot, by the way. Let's just give some credit to Nintendo and Koei-Temco. Like, by being a canon story and taking place 10,000 years in the past, you are very much limited in the amount of playable characters you can have. You have Zelda, you have Rauru, you have Minoru. We thought you had Sonya, but beyond that, and the sages, who at the time are like nameless, faceless, and you could argue the merit of like, did they develop those characters enough for you? But like, let's say that they did. Like, you have like 8 playable characters there, and so we were like, how are you going to fill out the rest of the game's roster with characters that you want to play as? Because typically you have like 20 to 30 playable characters in a Warriors game. And for a game that is asking you to do admittedly repetitive gameplay, where you mash a lot. I feel like you really need a robust roster of characters with different specials and different moves and stuff like that to make it feel less repetitive. So we were like, how are they going to do this? And we threw out a couple scenarios. We were like, is there any way where they can go between the past and the present, and you're playing as like Yunobo and Tulin and all those guys in some levels, and you're playing in the past? We were like, it maybe they're gonna bring in like some Zelda characters that we already know of. I kind of pitched like maybe they'll bring in like Faror and Din and Nehru, or even Tingle, for God's sakes. Like you could do the Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom version of him. We had pitched like maybe you just play as like a Lionel or something like that. And I feel like we pitched some scenarios, and this game took the absolute worst possible pathway that I think it could have. I think that this was like the worst case scenario, in that what this game did is they give you a bunch of random geeks to play as.
Oh no.
You have, I am going to count this out because I almost can't believe this, but like, so you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 playable characters that you've never heard of before in Age of in Age of Imprisonment, other than like getting to know them in the game. They offer nothing to the story of Age of Imprisonment. You've never heard of them in Tears of the Kingdom. You've never heard of them in Breath of the Wild, and they basically play exactly the same with very minimal differences to the four sages and other Hylians. And I cannot believe this playable roster. This is like, this is by far the worst playable roster in Hyrule Warriors. Like I said last week, like this is what you get when you order a roster from Temu. That is an insult to Temu. This roster is horrific. It is horrific. I'm sorry. Like they took the worst possible path that they possibly could have. And like, you're asking me to play as Zelda luminaries here, such as Typhon, Cadlan, Pastos, Vence, and Ronza, among others. What are we doing? Who are these characters? Like, why should anyone want to play as these characters at all? All they, like, they offer nothing to the story. They offer nothing to the gameplay. They are doing is putting a bunch of garbage on my already too busy map. And I cannot believe that this is the decision that was made. It would have been better to just have like 12 playable characters and that's it.
So that's what I said a while ago when we had that question. It was a Q&A, I think, like, how are they going to fill the roster? And I was like, do we need to? Like, I would be okay with like the 8 or 10 playable characters that we were knowing that we were going to get, with like Rauru, Minoru, Zelda, the Sages, potentially the or like a Link-like playable character. And I said, do we have to? Like, I'm okay with those, because personally, like, when you have to spend a lot of extra time in a game leveling up all these extra characters, like, it's just a lot, you know. I just want to level up my main characters that I like to play, and that's it. But then you pointed out, like, yeah, you want to bring the variety, and like have, you know, you want to flesh it out, build it out more. And like, I agree with you in a way, but now I'm going back on what I said originally, and I was just like, we should have just kept it with like the main folks, and I would have been totally content with that, versus this, where this is something I agree with you on. Like, I think if these characters were coming into the levels with you, they had some dialogue, and you were allowed to sync strike with them, I think that would have been perfectly acceptable for me. But now you get them as playable characters. I promise you, I will not touch these characters unless I'm forced to.
I haven't played as a single one, like except for levels where I was forced to. You're right.
Well, like, you know, when you initially start with them and like you unlock them and you get to play as them, that's all I've ever done. Like, and some of them I like their moves, like Typhon, I like his moves. Cadlan, I really like that he's got the Zora boomerang fins, like Majora's Mask Link Zora. I thought that was a cool callback. But like, other than that, I'm like, I'm not here for them. And you're right, like, never heard of them before. There's no connection. This is where you were saying like bringing in new characters is really hard for a game like this because how are you going to want to play as them? And I agree with you. As far
I
as
think like
those
even
guys go.
like that's a struggle with Rafika and
I don't
Kia,
have that
and
struggle with the other sages.
not as
And
much, but like it is a
it's okay if
struggle.
you do. It's okay if you do. I don't, but like I do have that struggle with these sidekicks. And I even thought we were only going to get one sidekick, but you get two per race,
Oh yeah,
and
you do.
it's rough. I don't care, you know. So I agree. This is pretty bad.
Like I think like one of the big strengths of a Warriors game is like your vast roster of playable characters. And like the Hyrule Warriors was basically founded on like, hey, this is fan service. Like it's fan service for Zelda fans. Like, yes, we're gonna tell a canonical story, but like we're also gonna let you finally play as Urbosa, who looks awesome. Or we're gonna let you play as Master Koga, who why not, right? Like
Yeah.
this game is this is such a disappointing roster. It is it's almost unforgivable, I will say. Like I don't know how this passed. I just don't know how someone signed off on this roster and was like, yeah, great. Bratton, okay, great. People are gonna love Bratton. Like, and you know what? Maybe people do love Bratton out there, but like, I just like, if you're asking me, a Zelda fan, who, as I've said, can take or leave the Warriors gameplay, okay? But if you're asking me as a Zelda fan to get a game with gameplay that I might otherwise not get if all things are equal, but I want to get it because it's promising me a story and presumably cool playable characters. This game delivered on neither of those, and like I said, we'll get into the story next week. But like the playable character roster, I was so disappointed, and I gotta say, I was even more disappointed after I beat the game.
Mm-hmm.
I think I just don't know what to say. Like this is like the worst case scenario. I thought that there must be like some kind of plan, some kind of something. I just like did not think that there would be like 10 geeks that were just randomly added to the roster to like pad out the. This is the definition of like pad out the roster and quantity over quality.
Yeah, because I would have just preferred quality and like I feel connected with the sages, but like give more material to the sages so that people could be more connected. So instead of having these random little battles where you go and save the new roster guy, and he's like, "Let me join you," or she's like, "Let me join you," whatever, and then you add them to your roster. Let's take Kia over there and have her while you're fighting. You know, give a little bit more dialogue about her
Totally.
past or whatever. Which, by the way, I think I mentioned this during Age of Calamity. I cannot stand the dialogue during the fighting because there's so much happening. So what I do is I let it all play out, and then at the end, I pause and I go and read all the dialogue so that I make sure I'm not missing any important information, which it's not really important. It's usually just the characters, like, talking about what's happening.
Yeah.
But anyways, like, you could have done that because you already have that happening. So why not give them more space to grow instead of like you said, it's like quantity over quality. I would have rather just had the minimal amount of people on this roster and spent more time with them.
Now, like again, I actually like don't know what this game was supposed to do with that problem beyond like time travel shenanigans or something like that. I think the best possible solution was to like again have versions of characters like we know from the Zelda Panthos in this, like kind of like Rauru was a new version of Rauru. You could do that with like a couple other characters as well. That would have been my decision. They didn't do that, and I feel like I'm gonna fault obviously Nintendo for signing off on this roster, but like I mean honestly, I think the real fault does kind of lie with Tears of the Kingdom and like that it gave you nothing for the sages in those games. So like I think like you can connect with the four sages in this game, but it would have been a lot easier if you had got to know them in the game. And then like maybe you could have had like some characters like pop up in the ancient texts or like you know what I like the guy who left all the treasure around everywhere.
Oh yeah.
Where was he?
Well, you have what's his name? Tusk he's like Colton and Kilton's great ancestor.
Yeah.
He
would have been a better playable character. Honestly. Like I would have brought back maybe like the Great Fairies as a playable character. I think you could have got away with that. I would like legitimately have had like Tingle or Beetle in over some of these guys because I feel like those guys are ones that you could just like whatever. Nobody cares if it's Beetle and 10,000 years ago or today. I just like I just this roster is
It's really bad. It's really unfortunate. Like I said, I go back to my original idea. Just have the minimal roster. I would have been okay with it. I know you would have complained about it, but I would have been okay with it.
I mean, I would have complained about it because, again, like the strength of these Warriors games is like you have lots of characters with a variety of moveset to make the gameplay feel more varied. Because, like, if you only have 12 characters and you've got like a million missions in this game, which, by the way, you still have to do, once you get territory, you have to like fight to keep territory, which is
Yeah.
is debatable.
I mean, I understand why that's part of the game, but I hate it. Like
I hate
I'm
it
already
too.
doing a bazillion side quests. I finish one main quest and a bazillion other things unlock, and it's so exhausting. And like I get it. I get why we have this to like beef up the game and like
Yeah.
give you your money's worth, but don't make me fight for territories again when it's just going to take me a minute and a half. Like
and
stupid.
and that's the thing. Like you've got all these missions, and if you've only got like honestly like 8 playable characters or however many, I'll go and count like the amount of playable characters, but like you need like those other playable characters to at least give it a little bit of spice and variety. Otherwise, it's just like, oh my god, I got to go and defend another territory. Am I taking Rauru this time? I took him last time. What about Minoru? Like,
Mhm.
um, I just, man, I don't know. So there's one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, 9 playable characters that I
Mhm.
played as the duration of my game. Zelda, Rauru, Minoru, the Four Sages, Calamo, and the Night Construct. That's like that's not a lot, especially
Mhm.
when you're doing so many missions. And um, yeah, I just did not think that they could possibly just do this like what they did, but they did, and I think that
Yeah.
the game is like significantly worse off for it, like almost unrecoverably worse off. Like if there was a really great story, I would say it could salvage it, but I don't know if I feel that way, and we'll talk about that next week.
Mhm. I feel like I find the roster thing ridiculous, but since I like playing as all the other characters and I'm totally okay with having the minimal roster, like it's just something I ignore. I'm like, I don't like that. I'm just gonna ignore it and continue playing the game the way I like to play it, you know? So it's very frustrating that they did that, but like, and I keep saying this, repeating myself. I would have been okay with just the 9 characters, and so that's how I'm playing the game.
Yeah, yeah. I
That's
don't know
kind of
what
just
else to
how
say.
you have to be, I guess.
Yeah, which is very disappointing because like if you want 100% the game and get like all these bonus scenes, which I have not done, but like yeah, you need to go and spend a lot of time with Bratton or with Vents or with what
Cadlin.
Typhoon. Like
Oh man. Yeah. Yeah, it's rough.
you know what else I think is ugly about this game? Well, again,
Uh-oh.
we will talk about this next week. I think that it is incredibly bogus that Nintendo put an embargo on all reviewers saying you cannot talk about the story in your official review of the game until the game is actually out.
Okay.
That tells me that you are not confident in the story and you're trying to fool people into buying this game because
But they
there's
do it for every game though. They have
no,
strict embargo on every game that they
not about the story specifically, no.
Well,
So
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 when
the
you
way
have
that the
like
way that it'll usually work is like there'll be an embargo for like reviews. So like let's just say that Metroid Prime 4 comes out December 4th. It'd be like, okay, on December 1st you can release all of your reviews, and they're going to be whatever they're going to be, right? Most reviewers are going to take care not to spoil the story, obviously, but for a game like
Mhm.
this that is like I feel like the story was basically the biggest selling point of this game. So for Nintendo to put out an embargo that says like you can release a review, but you can't talk about the story until the game is actually out, I think that that's really shady. And
Mhm.
yeah,
I guess I just didn't interpret it that way because when I saw reviews, people were saying like, "Yeah, this is totally a canonical story. It's great." The issue I have is that the levels are like hallways, and I'm like,
So
"Okay,
the reviews that you saw, like you were allowed to review the story, but you had to wait until the 6th of November until the game came out. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
Like when you're reviewing a game, typically your review will come out like a week earlier, so that you could kind of tell customers like, hey, like this is the pros, these are the cons, right? So like if the
Mm-hmm.
biggest selling point of your game, arguably here, is the story, and you're telling reviewers that are releasing their reviews a week early, you're not allowed to talk about the story. You can only release a review that has story details on the day that this comes out. I feel like that's kind of shady a little bit.
Okay." I mean, when I think back to about like Tears and Breath of the Wild, there was embargoes on those, and like people only got to play like the first like 3 hours or so. So to me, it always felt like Nintendo is strict. So I don't know if it's like to me, it
Sure,
just always
in
felt that way.
previews for sure, but like in a review, you could talk about anything typically,
Okay.
right? Like I don't know. I've never seen a game where there was an embargo on the story until release date. Like it's the same thing as like when a movie comes out and there's no advanced reviews or anything like that, and it's just like the reviews are coming out after the movie's over. Typically that means that your movie is not good and it's not going to review well because you want to get people in before they know how bad the movie
Hmm.
is.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So we'll talk about the story next week. We'll talk about the end game next week. We'll talk about it all. Okay, we'll talk about it all and take us to chapter 6 of this game. So I beat Age of Imprisonment. I don't know if I'm gonna play anymore.
Okay.
I have like 25 hours, give or take, into this game. I had like 75 hours into Age of Calamity.
Hmm.
Say what you will about the story. We've said a lot about the story, but I thought that was a really fun game. I thought that it was like I was really impressed, like you said, for the one-to-one like level design and stuff like that. I do not have a lot of fond things to say beyond just like the gameplay is great for a warrior style
Uh-huh.
game. I don't have a lot of fond things to say about Age of Imprisonment.
Hmm. I wonder if there will be DLC.
I'm sure there will be.
Yeah. I feel like for me personally, I'm having a better time with the game than you are. And of course, the story could change that, like you've been saying up until you beat it. The story could change your mind. So same here. But so far I'm enjoying the story. I'm enjoying the 9 characters that you really get to connect with. And I have a feeling that I'll try to like 100% it just like I did with Age of Calamity, but I know I'm never going to play this game again. Like it's going to be the same with
No
Age of
way.
Calamity.
Yeah. I cannot possibly fathom what DLC there could be. Like,
I couldn't either. And
let's get
I
a
think when
fourth
we were
Goron
doing
character to play as, okay?
I think when we were doing our hopes and dreams, I said I don't want DLC. I just want to be done with this era. I'm over it. And not in a like I know a lot of people are starting to feel really bitter about this era and I'm getting there. Like I'm getting to that point, but I think like we're done. I think we're ready to move on as Zelda fans and as the Zelda series.
Yes. I do think that the best before date has expired on this era of Zelda, and I will always think fondly of this era of Zelda. Like I love
I love this
Breath
era.
of the
It's my
Wild
favorite.
and Age of
So,
Calamity. But even by Tears of the Kingdom, I think for me, I was just like,
but
okay,
we've almost been here for 10 years. Like it's
longer.
time.
This was revealed in 2014. This like that little sneak peek, the Zelda Wii U trailer.
You're right. Mhm.
That's a long time. So
Mhm.
we'll see. Okay, we'll finish up our like final review on Age of Imprisonment last week. Yeah, we'll do it next week. I feel like I'm still in like a whirlwind stun from this playable character roster. Like just I don't
I
know what I was
fear
expecting. I cannot believe it. I can't believe that this is what they did.
I fear is the roster like hindering the rest of your feelings about this game? Like, is
No.
it so bad that you're like, oh, I just can't even enjoy the rest of this game?
Um, no, it's definitely a huge component. But if the story was banging, I'd be like, okay, you know
Okay.
what, this is fine. But
Okay.
well, we'll get there next week. We'll get there next week.
Hmm.
Um, So, I mean, you know what? If you are loving Age of Imprisonment, that's awesome. I certainly do not want to take away anyone's joy or enjoyment of this game. I've had my problems, but hey, I'm just one guy. So obviously Al is enjoying it quite a bit. So and there's a lot of people that are enjoying it quite a bit as well. So please don't take anything to be as like trying to steal your joy kind of thing here. But I do have to be honest with how I feel about this game. And woof. Okay. Anything else you want to add for chapter 3, 4 roster before we get out of here?
I'll see you guys at the end of chapter 6 next year. I promise I'll finish it.
Next year.
Next year. Oh my God.
Freudian slip. Oh,
you know what? It's close to next year already, and it feels like next year with all the work that I'm doing lately. So, anyways, I'll see you guys next week.
Do you want to stream for a little bit longer? Sam told me that we have to do a bunch of chores after we're done here.
No, I gotta go. That's why we streamed early.
All right. Well, okay, in that case, everybody, we are gonna get out of here.
You're trying to use me to like, no, we had to record for 4 hours. We decided to do Lord of the Rings too.
Yeah, Allison, here's her phone number. Go and take your complaints to her, okay?
Oh, she can get a hold of me.
Well, yes. All right. Okay, everybody, we are going to get out of here. Thank you so much for checking us out. Let us know what your thoughts of Age of Imprisonment are so far. I would love to know what people's thoughts on the roster are. Join our Discord, Zelda Dungeons Discord. There's been a lot of chatter over the last couple weeks. Let your thoughts be heard, okay? Let us know if we're too harsh, not harsh enough. And some of the other critiques that we had about old Hyrule as well, and the gameplay similarities. So let us know. Let us know over on Blue Sky as well, at Spiteri316, at Allison Aletha, at the Zelda Cast. Check out Zelda Dungeons YouTube page, by the way, if you want to see video podcasts, full-length video podcasts. You can see our smiling faces as we do these shows. And check us out wherever you get your podcasts. Go like and subscribe, recommend, rate, review, and if you got a Zelda fan in your life, tell them where they can get their weekly Zelda fix. So go ahead and do that. As mentioned at the top of the show, patreon.com/spnet. If you really want to take your Zelda Cast love to the next level, we do monthly bonus shows. There's a ton of stuff in the archive for you to check out, so you can have your fill on extra Zelda Cast content there. That, my friends, is going to do it for us. So until next week with our final Age of Imprisonment review, we will see you then. Take care.
Bye.
Hey everyone! If you enjoyed this clip and want to see more of the Zelda Cast, make sure to head over to your favorite podcast platform of choice and subscribe. There are over 200 episodes in the vault that will provide you with hundreds of hours of Zelda content for you to enjoy. You can listen to us when you're on a walk, fighting Ganon, trying to sleep, whatever. And if you want to see these shows as they happen, make sure to head over to twitch.tv/the Zelda Cast, where you can watch our beautiful faces talk about Zelda every single week. Don't miss out, and we'll see you next time.